Yo, check it. In a courtroom that felt more like something out of a thriller than a trial, Al B. Shore stepped up. Not as no celebrity or ex-partner, but as a man claiming he damn near lost his life for knowing too much. The air, thick with tension, man, and the stakes couldn't be higher. This wasn't just another celebrity scandal splashed across tabloids. Nah, this was something way deeper, darker, and more personal. A reckoning years in the maker. With grim determination etched into every word, Al recounted the warnings Kim Porter had given him before her untimely and mysterious death. He painted a vivid picture of Kim, not as the glamorous figurehead often portrayed in the media, but as a woman full of vibrancy, love, and fear. A woman who once radiated life, now reduced to cold autopsy reports, cryptic whispers, and unanswered questions. Al's voice carried both conviction and sorrow, as he revealed how Kim herself had confided in him about feeling increasingly unsafe in her final days. She spoke of being watched, her calls tapped, her movements monitored. Her words were haunting. "Man, you're too trusting," she told him. "If you keep being this open with everyone, you're going to get hurt, or worse." At the time, Al didn't fully grasp the gravity of her warning. But looking back now, after everything he's endured, those words feel like a prophecy. From his sudden, unexplained coma that left doctors baffled, to the chilling final conversations he shared with Kim. Conversations filled with veiled fears and ominous hints, the dots are beginning to connect in ways nobody could have anticipated. Each revelation seemed to pull back another layer of a carefully constructed facade, exposing a web of secrets that someone wanted buried forever. And as Al stood there, recounting these details under oath, the room hung on his every word, sensing they were witnessing something monumental unfold. Al B. Shore didn't hesitate to open up when questioned about the nature of his relationship with Kim Porter during her final years.
"We were close," he explained, his voice steady but tinged with emotion.
"Even after our romantic relationship ended, there was still mutual respect and genuine concern for each other." According to Al, Kim had been increasingly fearful in the months leading up to her death. She confided in him about feeling constantly surveilled, mentioning that her phone calls were being tapped, and expressing the unsettling sensation that someone was always lurking outside her house. Prosecutors leaned forward in their seats, clearly intrigued, as Al recounted how Kim had meticulously documented her fears. He described the detailed notebook she kept hidden away, filled with names, dates, locations, and other critical information. "She told me, if anything happens to me, it wasn't an accident," Al revealed, his words hanging heavy in the air. The courtroom seemed to collectively hold its breath as the gravity of Kim's forewarnings began to sink in, painting a chilling picture of her state of mind before her untimely death. The courtroom remained utterly silent as Al delved into the haunting details of Kim's final days, painting a vivid picture of what appeared to be an ordinary week turned tragic. "It was supposed to be a normal week," he began, his voice steady but tinged with emotion. "The family had gathered to celebrate Quincy's Netflix deal, a momentous occasion filled with joy and laughter. Everyone was there, himself, Kim, Diddy, and the kids." He described Kim as radiant, full of life, effortlessly moving through the room, sharing smiles, cracking jokes, and even dancing with her children. It was a scene that seemed lifted from a home movie, warm and carefree. But beneath the surface, something was amiss. That night, Kim pulled Al aside and confided in him, her tone uncharacteristically serious. "I feel like I'm being watched again," she said, her words laced with unease. At the time, Al didn't think much of it. He chalked it up to paranoia or stress. But now, recounting the memory under oath, he realized it was a chilling premonition. What shocked the courtroom most, however, was the stark inconsistency between the official narrative of Kim's death and the private details Al revealed. According to his testimony, Kim wasn't found peacefully in her bed, as the public had been led to believe. Instead, she was discovered in the bathroom, crumpled on the floor near the tub, her body lifeless and cold. Adding to the disturbing image, Al testified that there were bloodstains on her pillowcase, evidence of some kind of struggle, and a trail of marks leading from the bed to where her body was found.
These details painted a far more sinister picture than the sanitized version presented to the world. Prosecutors leaned forward, their pens scribbling furiously as Al spoke, while members of the jury exchanged uneasy glances. The inconsistencies raised troubling questions. Why had the official reports omitted such critical details? Was someone trying to cover up what really happened that night? As Al's words hung heavy in the air, the courtroom felt the weight of a truth that had been buried for years, only now beginning to surface. Courtroom jaws dropped when Al pivoted to the medical emergency that nearly took his life. The atmosphere shifted as he recounted the chilling events surrounding his sudden collapse in October 2022, an incident that left him fighting for survival in a medically induced coma for over 2 months.
"I flatlined twice," he said, his voice steady but filled with the weight of what he had endured. "My liver, my kidneys, they just shut down like someone had flipped a switch." Doctors were baffled, unable to pinpoint a clear cause for his sudden and catastrophic multi-organ failure. To the courtroom, it sounded less like an unfortunate health crisis and more like something out of a thriller novel. Al then drew a direct line between his medical emergency and the dangerous secrets he had been privy to. He revealed that just days before his collapse, he had been meeting with a journalist who was eager to document the explosive information Kim Porter had shared with him years earlier. That interview, however, was never published, and within days of their meeting, Al found himself unconscious in a hospital bed, teetering on the edge of death. Adding to the intrigue, Al disclosed a bizarre detail that had haunted him since the weeks leading up to his coma. He had received an anonymous package in the mail, a flash drive containing a trove of cryptic information. Voice memos, names, timestamps, some of which he didn't even recognize at first glance. It was as though someone wanted him to have this data, but for what purpose? Al admitted that he hadn't fully understood the significance of the files until much later. But understanding or not, the flash drive became a critical piece of evidence, or so it seemed. Because during his hospitalization, while he lay unconscious and vulnerable, the drive mysteriously vanished from his home. "My security cameras were disabled that night," he explained, his tone heavy with implication. "It was like whoever took it knew exactly when I'd be out of commission. The timing of these events, the meeting with the journalist, the arrival of the flash drive, and his subsequent collapse felt too coincidental to dismiss." Al's testimony painted a picture of calculated moves designed to silence him permanently. As he spoke, the courtroom sat in stunned silence, the gravity of his words sinking in. This wasn't just about a man who had narrowly escaped death. It was about a pattern of suppression, erasure, and fear that seemed to follow anyone who dared to challenge the powerful figures at the center of the story. Al drew attention to the unsettling pattern of deaths surrounding individuals connected to Diddy and Uptown Records. Kim Porter, Andre Harrell, and Heavy D all shared a similar fate. Kim's passing was officially attributed to pneumonia, but questions lingered. Andre Harrell, the man who once mentored Diddy, died of an alleged heart attack in 2020, while Heavy D, another prominent figure from the Uptown Records era, passed away in 2011 due to what was reported as a pulmonary embolism. What made these deaths even more suspicious, Al argued, was that all three were working on books or memoirs at the time of their deaths. These weren't just casual projects, they were deeply personal accounts that promised to reveal explosive truths about the music industry and the people in it. Al leaned forward, his voice steady but filled with urgency, and stared directly at the jury. "Think about it," he said. "What do all these people have in common? They all knew Diddy intimately. They all had stories, powerful, potentially damaging stories, and now they're all gone." Their voices silenced before they could share what they knew. The courtroom fell silent as Al's words sank in, leaving everyone to grapple with the chilling implications of what he was suggesting. Was it merely coincidence, or was there something far darker at play? Al testified that after Kim's death, a private investigator he had hired tried to retrieve her personal belongings from her home, but the house had already been thoroughly cleaned out. Her phone, laptop, notes, everything was gone, as if someone had deliberately scrubbed the place clean of any evidence or trace she left behind. When Al pressed further and asked members of Kim's family about her safe, where she allegedly kept critical documents and recordings, they told him it was empty. Not just partially empty, but completely cleared out. The tapes she mentioned recording, her journals filled with names and dates, Even her hard drives containing years of work on her unpublished manuscript, all were missing without explanation. Whoever had gotten to these items knew exactly what to look for and acted swiftly before Al or anyone else close to Kim could intervene. This level of precision suggested not just an opportunistic theft, but a calculated effort to erase her story entirely. It wasn't just carelessness. It felt intentional, like someone wanted to ensure those secrets would never see the light of day. As the room hung on his every word, Al recounted chilling moments from early 2023, when a former music industry insider, an individual he'd known and trusted for years, warned him that influential figures were growing increasingly impatient with his persistent investigations. According to Al, this source emphasized that powerful people were no longer willing to tolerate his probing into matters they wanted buried. It wasn't long before Al began receiving anonymous texts, their messages ominous and direct. "Stay out of it. Don't speak unless you want the same outcome." At first, he tried to rationalize these warnings as paranoia or empty threats, but everything changed one terrifying week later, when his car brakes mysteriously failed while he was driving on the highway. The incident left him shaken, and he realized then that this was far from a joke. It was a calculated message meant to instill fear. Al went on to admit that over the past year, his life had transformed into something unrecognizable. Every waking moment was shadowed by the constant threat of danger. He confessed to sleeping with a firearm close to his bed each night, a grim precaution against the unknown forces he believed were targeting him. His paranoia extended beyond his home. He hired private security to accompany him during public appearances, and even paid for advanced surveillance systems to monitor his surroundings. To further protect himself, he changed his phone number multiple times, hoping to evade whoever might be tracking his communications. Socially, he became a ghost, withdrawing from interviews, public engagements, and even casual conversations about topics related to Kim Porter or Diddy. For Al, silence wasn't just an option, it was survival. Yet, despite these drastic measures, he couldn't shake the feeling that someone was always watching, waiting for their next move. "It's like being stalked by shadows," he told the courtroom. "You can't prove anything, but you feel it in your bones." And now, standing on the witness stand, recounting these harrowing experiences under oath, Al knew one thing for certain. Whoever was behind these threats was still listening, and they weren't going to stop anytime soon. In one of the most gripping turns of the trial, Al revealed the alleged existence of recordings made by Kim herself. She documented her calls, conversations with assistants, even her fights with Diddy. They were her insurance, he said. But after her death, gone. Al also testified about Kim's manuscript, a book she had been secretly compiling since 2012. She planned to release it under a pseudonym through a European publisher. In perhaps the most emotional moment, Al read from an email Kim once sent him. "If this gets me killed, please know I did my best. I don't want to be remembered as some model or music mogul's ex. I want my story told honestly, even if it comes from the grave." With that, the prosecution rested. Al B. Shore stepped down from the witness stand, not as a grieving ex or a musician, but as a man who may have just helped unlock one of the darkest, most carefully buried secrets in hip-hop history. As the courtroom emptied out for the day, whispers lingered about what Al just unleashed, because it wasn't just testimony, it was a warning from beyond the grave.